As a vegan, do you ever feel like you're living in a parallel universe, aware of things that many others don't even seem to notice, let alone acknowledge? I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse podcast. We talk with vegans from around the globe who, like you, are living lives of integrity and compassion with an eye toward justice. Through their personal stories, you'll come to see that you're not an outlier. In fact, you're part of an entire posse of individuals who aren't just keeping the peace, they're creating it through their food choices and beyond. You won't be saddling up, but you're in for the ride of your life. Welcome to the Vegan Posse. Hey Posse, I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse, bringing vegans together to help animals everywhere. And I'm joined by my co-host Daisy, coming to you from Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. And this week, April of 2025, we held the first ever Vegan Posse Soiree, which was tons of fun. It was so great not only to see some people I don't get to see often enough, but to see everyone else connect and trade stories and share their amazing updates. We'll be having plenty more of these events in the future, probably on the order of once a month or every few months. So if you didn't make this one, we hope to see you at the next one. And in the meantime, come if you can to Vegan Summerfest in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, July 9th through the 13th, 2025, where I'll be speaking along with lots of other inspiring, interesting people like Victoria Moran, Angela Crawford, Joanne Farb, and Jen Hawk, while we're all stuffing our faces with delicious, all vegan food prepared under the direction of vegan chef and previous Posse guest Mark Reinfeld. In other words, lots going on here at the Posse. So stay tuned, stay in touch at veganposse.email@gmail.com. And most of all, stay strong and stay true. And for now, enjoy this recorded experience of the Posse Soiree. Hi, everybody. Hi, Margie. Hi, Nan.
Hey there.
Hi, Amy.
I'm going to get my video on in a minute.
Great. Yeah, we'll give people a few minutes to trickle in and then we'll get going. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
Long time no see, my Nashville friend. And hi, Scott. Good to see you.
Hi, Chrissy. How's it going?
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Let me fix that image out here.
Was I hearing someone is in Costa Rica?
Yes, I'm in a place where I'm just, I promise you I'm clothed. It's just too hot for shirts in this spot. So
That's okay.
And he never wears shoes. So that's typical. And Scott, you're down in Florida?
Yeah, the Tampa area.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah.
I saw this and I thought I was so excited to jump on. So I hope it's going to be a great time, I'm sure.
Yeah. I figured we'll give people a few more minutes to trickle in, but yeah, I just thought it would be fun to get everybody together, put some names to some faces or faces to some names for people who I haven't seen in a long time. And the posse, the Vegan Posse. Hey, Alyssa, good to see you. Hey, Angela. So yeah, it's 10 o'clock. So I'll officially start our official programming. We're recording this call for people who can't make it today. But as you all know, I think you know, I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse. You are the Posse. And so I'm so happy that you're here with me today. There's so much happening in the world in general. And of course, everything that's still happening to farmed animals is horrible and awful. And, warrants being upset about every moment of every day. But the good news is that the fun part of being a vegan is connecting with other vegans and sharing in that mission and sharing in that desire to expand compassion and expand love for everybody, including ourselves. And so I figured let's focus on the fun part of this for today. So I thought how we'd start off is just go around the virtual room and kind of each just give a brief introduction. Just say who you are, where you live, maybe how long you've been vegan or when you found the vegan path and how you first discovered the Vegan Posse podcast. And I'll get us going just to kind of show people how it's done, and then we can go around the virtual room in alphabetical order. But again, I think you all know me at least a little bit. Some of you know me personally, some more professionally, although I try not to be too professional when I can help it. But again, I'm Chrissy Benson. I launched the Vegan Posse in 2022, November of 2022, which was the same time that my novel Marrying Myself came out. And as you probably all know, Marrying Myself, it's fiction, it's women's fiction, it's a fun read, but it's got a vegan protagonist. And so that's an area where I'm very passionate about, is the concept of normalizing veganism through the arts. And in terms of the podcast itself, I first went vegan in 2011 and just discovered this whole new way of life, which, even though I went vegan very reluctantly initially, it was more just a matter of conscience, and it was not something I was excited about, because I thought I was signing up for a lifetime of deprivation and food restriction. And, come to find out that I'm on the verge of discovering just this wonderful life path and so many new foods. And then meanwhile, I was connecting with all these really interesting people at all these events. I love vegan conferences and workshops and animal rights groups. And so I was discovering all these fascinating, really just interesting people and having all these amazing conversations. And I just, in part, didn't want those conversations to go to waste. And I love talking to people and hearing their story, and also just helping people remember that even though it can often feel like we're the only ones who care about these things, we're the only ones who are noticing this whole swath of suffering, that's covered from most people's daily existence. There are lots of other people all around the world who do care about these things, and they, care about them to the extent that they're actually doing something about it rather than just signaling about it. So that's why I launched the Posse. And, since then it's just been trucking along, and I've had so many amazing conversations. It's really weird to think back to November of 2022 when it was a new thing. But it's been a great venture for me. I hope it's brought something to you all as well. And, forgive me, people are entering the virtual room. I don't have somebody else assisting me, so I'm kind of letting people in as we go. But yeah, we'll go down the list, at least in alphabetical order, insofar as I can tell. So the next person on the list, even though it's not alphabetical, that's interesting. But next up is Lidge, probably because you were the first person to join. So why don't you just do a brief introduction and just, tell us anything you want to tell about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Lidge, and I live in East Nashville, and I've been vegan since 2020, which is actually also when I met Chrissy. So we've been friends for many years. And I had first explored it a year before that, doing a summer of raw vegan, and then sort of fell back off and then got back on. And I'm now currently in Costa Rica visiting. I came down here for a month, and it's just incredible down here. The fruit. I mean, to me, like one of the really fun things about being vegan, because sure, at the beginning I just thought like, wow, I can't eat a muffin and a cookie, and I can't have like ice cream and other things. Of course, I quickly discovered that vegan ice cream is much better than all other forms of ice cream anyway. But coming down here and exploring the fruit, you get to learn about things like guanabana, which sounds like the Muppets show. Guanabana. And that's this foot that's this it looks like a football, but it's a fruit, and it's so mushy that they have to wrap it in cellophane when they sell it at the farmer's market. And it looks like a rotting fish carcass. It looks like the most disgusting thing you've ever seen. But when you taste it, it's the most incredible fruit I've ever had. And it tastes like bubble gum. And people say it has magical healing powers. So it's best part of what's in my mango smoothie this morning. So here's to all the incredible things you get to eat when you go vegan.
Thanks, Lidge. Yeah, I definitely want to try that fruit. I need to check out the international market here. It's on my list. Um, okay, next up is Amy. Why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little about you?
Hi, I'm Amy. I live in Nashville and I've been vegan, I don't know, about 14 years. And I met Chrissy years ago when she gave a vegan presentation. And and then she started a vegan discussion group, a vegan support group in Nashville that I attended. And so I've always enjoyed discussing vegan issues with Chrissy. And she did not ask me to say this, but I really like her book, Marrying Myself. I mean, it is so funny and I really like it. So I guess that's about it.
Well, thank you, Amy. And for people on the call, Amy was one of my early readers before the manuscript was even polished and edited and everything. So I have Amy to thank, and she's formally thanked in the acknowledgments. But Amy, I also am curious if you have anything to report on your workplace, Tennessee State University, and some of the vegan agendas you've got going there.
Well, first, just I do.
Amy's for people who aren't aware, Amy is a professor at Tennessee State University here in Nashville, TSU. So go ahead, Amy.
Yeah. Well, for years I have infused vegan content, a little vegan content in my course. I teach like a basic learning course, and I tell students everything I talk about is relevant to the course, and so I'll use vegan examples. So I've been doing that for years. And then I think for what you're referring to, I won't comment on in this venue. I made a little progress. And then if we have time later, I can talk about like more community activism.
Okay, very cryptic, but fair enough. Okay, let me see who's next up. All right, Alyssa, looks like you. And again, apologies, this is not 100% alphabetical, but kind of, sort of.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm in Delaware and I'm a mental health coach. I specialize in supporting highly sensitive vegan women build resilience and create a life they love. And I'm vegan almost 14 years and vegetarian, way before that, before I got the memo. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, happy you can make it. And yeah, we've got such similar overlap, almost identical amount of time vegan. And like you, I was vegetarian for a long time, and like you, in the mental health fields. And then, of course, the highly sensitive. I think that's a word that tends to come up in almost every conversation that I have with the guests on the posse is sensitive. So thank you for representing that clientele. Okay, next up, Angela. Please go ahead.
Hey, it's great to be here. Some of you I know, like Alyssa, and I think Carlos, I met through a Victoria Moran event. So nice to see you. Yeah, so, I met Chrissy through Victoria Moran because we're both graduates of Main Street Vegan Academy. And I just was on her podcast this week, so super excited. And I'm in upstate New York. I'm a psychologist, and I just, my book that I spent the last few years working on is just coming out right now, The Vegan Transformation, A Journey to Heal Yourself and the World. So super excited. I'm in launch mode and a lot of podcasts and just as a highly sensitive introvert empath, it's a different thing to be in this kind of more public sharing about a book, but it's also exciting because I'm hoping, because it shares about the psychological, emotional, and spiritual shifts that can come with being vegan. I'm hoping it will invite more people into this lifestyle, as well as support those of us who are already vegan to thrive with this lifestyle. So glad to be here.
Glad to have you. And yeah, Angela, since I read your book and had you on the show for a second time, yeah, I just keep thinking about this concept of personal transformation, which makes so much sense because the more I think about it, I went vegan, a lot of us go vegan thinking about how we're going to change the world for the better. We want to do this to change the world. And then lo and behold, this change happens within us. And that's in many ways like the more remarkable change. So I love that you've found something new to say about the vegan journey. I mean, it's amazing to me that you did. So
Thank you.
thank you.
And I loved your book too.
Oh. Well, thank you. Okay. And now the names are going out of order, even more so. But next on the list, I have Nan. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and say hi?
Yes, hi, I'm Nan Simonson. I'm in Southern California and it's 8 o'clock in the morning here. Just getting ready for a bike ride. And I'm glad to be here. I wrote this book, Aging Powerfully, 4 years ago after having gone vegan in the fall of 2018 and having been with a lifestyle medical practice for a couple of years as a health coach. I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach, and so I'm still involved in that. And we have our city, the city of Riverside, California, transitioning to a blue zone. So I'm very excited about that. I'm part of that. I'm with our lifestyle medical practice founded by Dr. Wayne Dysinger, who hired me in 2018, the end of 2018 as a health coach, is one of the founding members of the College of Lifestyle Medicine. So my coming into veganism was coming in through my marriage to the whole food plant-based spectrum, as opposed to animal welfare, which has come in along with that. And so what I'm doing now with this entire thing is to watch our city. We've been funded $40 million is to watch our city become closer to the blue zones. And as I speak of it, I continue to refer to the vegan diet, which I do refine down to whole food plant-based, because I think we all know that a vegan diet isn't necessarily healthy unless it's made healthy with whole foods that are plant-based. So that's my thing. And I don't know when I found Chrissy. I just don't remember. I just know that I admire everything you do. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy you were able to join us. It's been a year or two at least since you were on the show. So very glad you could show up today.
Thank you.
Okay, let me see. Okay, Carlos, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and say hi? Yes, there you are. Hey.
Okay, good. One really quick thing. Where is Lige? Where is he?
Costa Rica at the moment.
I'm in Samara, Costa Rica, a little beach town in southern Guanacaste on the Pacific side.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
like
great place to learn how to surf.
I like the warm weather too. And I was in Hawaii for 17 years and I'm in New York now freezing my butt. So anyway,
You would not, it's the opposite here. You
yeah, I
can't
know.
freeze your butt off.
Anyway, yeah, I met Chrissy kind of actually through Victoria Moran also. Everyone seems to know her. And you know, seems like seconds later I'm on her podcast. So that's how that happened. But I'm in New Jersey right now. I'm working uh, with the American Vegan Society, helping them do what they do and expanding on things that they do. And a few weeks ago, I took a little trip to Washington, D.C. to do a recording session for someone. And Victoria, again, mentioned that I should talk to uh, Alex Hershaft when I'm down there. So I contacted him, and the first thing he sends back is, "Oh, you can stay at my house while you're here."
Huh.
Okay. So I stayed there for the weekend and then before I even talked to Alex, I heard about this uh, animal rights in the Trump era event happening also in Washington. So I went to that for 3 days. So then Alex said to go by his place, and I was there for every night of that conference and my recording. And before I left his house 4 days later, he offered me a job at Farm Animal Rights Movement. So I've been doing that for a couple of months now. And today, after this call here, I'm going to New York City to participate in 5 Earth Day events. One of them is the Plant-Based Food Festival at NYU. Another one is the Climate Change Film Festival, also at NYU. Earth Day tomorrow at Union Square. And some plant-based protein event also at NYU. So it's like all this stuff just keeps on coming. And yeah, I've been vegan for 23 years, and I never had a vegetarian stage because although it's a long story, the short version is that I got invited to this film screening and had Burger King in my stomach almost 24 years ago. And I went to this screening and I came out vegan 2 hours later. There was no vegetarian stage. It was boom, right off. I saw what happens to animals so that they become your food and your clothes and your furniture. And I said, I'm causing this kind of suffering. And it turns out the movie was Earthlings, and Sean Monson was just in an early stage of the film before it was even completed. And I saw that without the music. It had Joaquin Phoenix's voice in it, but I saw that without the music. And I just realized then that I am causing this suffering by buying that food. And literally with Burger King in my stomach, I became vegan right off the bat. And right now, as you see, my schedule's pretty full with 4 different film, which some of you would know, the Miss Liberty. And so my life has become pretty, well, what I really do in my heart is music. Well, veganism is in my heart too, but I do music and I make music videos and I'm working on several others. There's a music video that Chrissy has seen that she liked and a lot of people liked. We got 17 film festival awards already. And I'm here because I've got 2 grandkids and I want to preserve the planet as much as possible for them, even though their mom and dad don't understand. I'm doing it for the kids.
Well, thank you, Carlos. That is quite the update. In fact, so Carlos was passing through town a couple of weeks ago, and so I got to meet him in person here in Nashville and share a vegan dinner with him. And at that time, you didn't know quite what you were going to be doing. Look at you. Congrats on the new job. For people who don't know, Alex Hershaft is the founder of Farm Animal Rights Movement, which puts on the annual Animal Rights Conference, which was one of the first conferences I ever went to, which was, life-changing for me. But that's so exciting. Wow. Very, very good stuff.
Yeah, so
Okay,
besides the
next
birthday
up,
events-
and again, apologies for the
Could
wacky
I-
order. I think it's
Could
just
I
because-
request, could I interject a request? Carlos, would you mind sharing a link to your music in the chat? Is that possible for us to share things in the group
sure.
or not?
I think so. It should be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks. Love to hear it.
Okay, next up is my friend Cheryl in New York City. Cheryl, would you like to introduce yourself and say hi?
Sure. unlike some people, I remember exactly when I met Chrissy. We were working on projects in the same room, but not together. And I don't know how many years ago was that. It was
I want to say it was 2014, maybe.
it.
Gosh, wow, that's
I
wild.
think it was before then.
Might
Was
have been.
but
Might
when
have
did-
been.
when
Yeah,
did
might have
you-
been 2013 or
When
20.
did you leave New York? Do you remember?
When did I leave New York?
Yeah.
2017.
Okay, so something like that. So it's quite a while ago, and she was one of the very few cool-looking people that we were working with. So
We're both lawyers. Cheryl and I are both
that's right.
reluctant
I
lawyers.
was. I'm retired now, but so here I am. I unfortunately I have to report I am still only an aspiring vegan. I do my best at home, and you know, it's I still find it difficult because I don't have any friends that eat that way. Chrissy was my one friend in New York, and you know, I certainly don't eat meat. I don't eat chicken, but yeah, I do my best, but I haven't quite made the commitment, even though I met Chrissy last summer at Vegan Summerfest, and that was I enjoyed it very much, but you know, so that's where I am.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And thank you for sharing. I mean, obviously, like we're all on our path, and you know, the posse is inclusive. So yeah, but good to see your face. It's been a long time. Yeah, I haven't seen you since last year at Vegan Summerfest. And that's what I love about those events, is that events like that, veganism is normal. That's how everybody's eating. And so we're not faced with that dichotomy between how we do things and how everybody else is doing them. Okay, let's see. Dr. Scott Harrington, you're coming up next. Please go ahead.
All right. Hey, yeah, I'm Dr. Scott Harrington. I'm a family doctor who went vegan in 2012 after failing to lose weight. I'm in the Army, and they make you run. My run time, I was gaining 1 or 2 pounds on the SAD diet, the standard American diet, every year. And so I tried to eat small portions, tiny burgers, and couldn't lose weight. And then I felt like a bad hypocrite, bad doctor, because I told all my patients, oh, you got to lose weight, you know. So that's when one of my special forces friends told me about the movie Forks Over Knives. And so I was on a plane, I watched Forks Over Knives, and then by the time I landed, I was vegan. I described the thing like it was like a 10-year epiphany that happened all of a sudden. Like, because I had read Healthy at 100, and I had read like Dr. McDougall's books and everything, but somehow I missed the like message that you should just not eat any animal products. And then like somehow when I watched Forks Over Knives, it was the whole thing with the volumetrics with the stomachs and all that. I was like impressed. And then I saw the cancer associations with the casein protein. So man, it was really hit home for me. I went vegan and lost 15 pounds pretty rapidly with pretty low effort. And so then I was telling everybody about it. So that was 2012, and I never looked back. I didn't start for ethical reasons, but being vegan and not feeling like I was forced to eat animals. I mean, I'm a human, and I have, you know, I'm humane. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt any animals. And so it just sort of like allowed me to sort of become ethical vegan for the planet and for animals, and being able to, where all my values aligned appropriately. It just felt like such a, once I moved in this direction, it felt so good. So I created a practice called Vegan Primary Care during the pandemic because people were willing to do telemedicine. And I was afraid if I opened up a vegan practice down the street that no one would ever come to it because I would just not have enough patients. But it's been great. I've been able to reach out to people. I'm in like 16 states right now. So I'm just putting in the states that I'm in, just in the chat. I'm a family doc. I'm board certified with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine as well, and recommend the whole food plant-based diet without salt, oil, or sugar, the healthiest way to eat. But I understand nobody's perfect, but I just work with patients wherever they're at on the vegan, you know, journey. And it's just a great time working with everyone. You had me on the show one time, and that's how we met. And I just want to say thanks, and thanks for inviting me here. This is really great meeting with everybody.
Yeah, it's so great to have you. And it's interesting to hear you talk about your experience, as an overweight, hypocritical doctor. But don't you doctors take the hypocritical oath? Isn't that part of your training?
The Hippocratic, yeah. The Hippocratic oath, where hypocrite oath, where we're just prescribing a bunch of pills and keeping people addicted to the medical system, where really you should just step out of the way and let the body heal itself. And so, the body, they say, oh, we're not doing anything. Well, that's not true. The body's doing a million things, and you can have amazing transformations. And so, that being said, sometimes, some of these movies like What the Health and everything will sort of talk about unicorns and rainbows or miraculous stage 10 cancer cures that, sometimes people start the vegan diet and they feel like, well, I didn't get this amazing transformation. And so I'm there to kind of help support them and keep people moving in the right direction.
Right. Yeah, I thank you for mentioning that caveat, because it is true. We can glamorize reality sometimes, because even though I'm the biggest proponent ever of the whole food plant-based approach, yeah, we're still human. So that comes with certain failings. All right, looking down my list, I think next up is Margie. Please say hi and just tell us a little about yourself.
Hey there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in North Florida, Palm Coast near St. Augustine, and that's where I got to meet Chrissy in person.
Yeah.
Last month for her book signing and presentation. So I'm reading that wonderful book. And yeah, went full vegan, I guess, about 5 years ago. Just saw one more documentary. I think it was Cowspiracy. It was that last one. I just thought, okay, that's it, because I was dabbling and doing vegetarian for years. So just felt really good to kind of do that clear demarcation, and it does feel so much easier now than it used to be. And there's so many connections. I'm so inspired by what everyone shared. And I did get on the Will Tuttle group, whole scene. He's the, Dr. Will Tuttle wrote the World Peace Diet and now Food for Freedom. So I was on his monthly calls, and that's where I first met Chrissy on Zoom. And then it was so great to be able to meet in person. And as I said, I'm reading Marrying Me. I'm such a slow reader, and I don't read fiction very often. I'm almost finished, but I don't want it to end. It's sort of like, I don't want to finish it. I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking for where I can, find a path into animal activism, the vegan world. And I'm hearing so many ideas from people. I'm going to look up some of these organizations and hope to be at Summerfest this summer.
Yay.
Yeah. So maybe see some of you there. And I love growing food. That is my passion. So I'm a big gardener, farmer. So that is my day job. And yeah, what else? I guess that's it. Yeah. But just thanks so much. Oh, and the vegan posse, I so love. I'm going back in time listening to all the interviews. They're so amazing. And some of you have been on those. So really love that. Yeah. So thanks.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Margie. And it was so great to see Margie in person a couple months ago when I went down for a book event where my parents live in St. Augustine, and it was, among other things, it was just wonderful to have a fellow vegan in the audience, because it was a very non-vegan crowd. So that was fabulous. All right, Megan, would you like to say hi and tell us a little about yourself and maybe about your vegan family?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Megan. Can you hear me, Chrissy?
Yes, I can hear you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah, I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, And I met Chrissy, it was the fall of 2023, in person at a conference. It was with Dr. Doug Lyle and Dr. Jen Hawk, related to that, to psychology. And we really hit it off and stayed in touch ever since. And my journey into the whole food plant-based community in veganism was about 6 years ago, just because I've always had this interest in kind of like seeking out longevity and optimizing health, and I did have a history where I just didn't eat red meat even when I was a younger child, so I sort of was leaning towards progressing towards that direction. And so once I started watching the documentaries, like the Forks Over Knives and the What the Health, I was sold on veganism. And then, so that was my gateway in. And then I transitioned to also feeling completely connected with the veganism, with just the animal rights and the environmental issues. So that like, beyond the health, it's now like was so solid into it. And fortunately, my family, it was a slow process where I was by myself. And then my husband watched the documentaries and got on board as well, just naturally. And then my 3 children also, at the time, were about 5 and under. So I was able to transition them as well. And it's been wonderful. The oldest is now 11, and he's very passionate about it and for the animals. And I think that's really nice. We all feel a little alone, unfortunately, here in Chapel Hill. They're just, none of the friends in the schools or in our neighborhood are vegan. But I like to think it's a very progressive area and everyone's super accommodating and understanding. And I like to think we're kind of planting the seeds to normalizing veganism. And there are a few vegetarians, so that's hopeful. And there is this county where Chapel Hill is nice, where we have like Nelson and Kim Campbell also live here. And so if we can ever make it to any of the major events, like we went to that premiere Food to Freedom that was shown here, and I can bring my son, and it's just so nice to show there are others out there. And of course the Vegan Posse podcast, that it just we unfortunately have to seek it out like outside of our circle. So we're working, I guess, like just by being an example. But and personally, I'm a recently retired civil engineer. I was licensed and practicing for the last 20 years, and I've stepped down from that and just kind of focusing on raising the children and being closer with my older parents. And I do feel I have something sort of in common with a lot of the people on here, where a lot of people have roles where they're coaches or psychologists, or have all these different areas where there are nutritional specialists. Because what I have in common is that that's kind of my dream job. I think if I could do it over again, I would do one of those types of roles now with what knowledge I have. And my way of probably ever having any activism or helping others would be through that kind of role. So hopefully with this longevity in the decades ahead, that's something that could be, something I could maybe continue to have a journey towards and find some way to like make my place on that, and connect later on. So I appreciate you, Chrissy, bringing everyone together and organizing this. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Stan. Thank you so much for being here. And for people who won't know this, but Megan has the most beautiful family. Like, her kids are just absolutely adorable. Definitely no protein deficiencies there. I saw them, running around, and lots of energy, and they're just so smart and so sweet and just beautiful. And then Megan herself is just an amazing organizer. At that conference that she mentioned, she created a book club from that conference that I was part of. She created a phone list. She stayed in touch. So I'm confident that you'll go on to another successful, professional chapter in whatever capacity that looks like. But I think that's a great point about longevity. It does become a question, okay, chances are we're going to have a lot more time. And so what are we going to do with it? As a lot of people on the call know, I'm embarking on a new professional chapter, finishing up grad school in clinical mental health counseling and on the path to becoming a therapist. So that's my, next chapter. But Megan, that's very exciting. And I'm so happy for you that you stepped down from your engineering role. And I know it's something you were pondering for a long time and finally made it happen. So it's exciting that, sky's the limit.
Thank you.
All right. Next, I believe, is Peggy. Would you like to go ahead and check in and say hi? Tell us who you are.
Sure. Thank you, Chrissy. Yeah, my name is Peggy Young, and I started being a whole foods plant-based vegan 15 years ago after I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And I had a huge surgery, and I couldn't tolerate the chemo. My husband is a research scientist, so he had done a bunch of studies, and he came home and said, we have to go whole food, plant-based vegan. And I told him he was out of his effing mind. I'm from Wisconsin. I was a cheesehead. I said, there's no way I can go whole food plant. He said, do it for 30 days. So I did it for 30 days and my cancer numbers came way down. I mean, so I was sold. I mean, the chemo, one dose put me in a wheelchair. The whole food plant-based diet was really working. So I went with that, and I haven't looked back. And my daughters went whole food plant-based vegan. My husband went. So we've got our own tiny community of whole food plant-based vegans here. The whole animal rights things came along with that. The idea that eating healthy could make your body so much healthier and the planet so much healthier in so many ways. It just seemed like a huge win, win, win. I did write a book on my experience since we're sharing books. It's called Like There Is a Tomorrow. And it's the whole story about my cancer experience. I met Chrissy through a women's group with Jen Hawk, and she almost immediately said, well, be on my podcast. And so I was able to go on the podcast and talk a little bit about my story. And I've been sick lately, so I haven't been on the women's group. And but also I feel really good because I'm on this really healthy diet. So even getting this RSV virus it didn't put me out the way it would have ordinarily put me out if I was eating the way I was eating 15 years ago. And yeah, the whole vegan journey has been amazing inside and out. So it's a fantastic thing. And thank you, Chrissy, for putting me on your podcast. And your book is absolutely wonderful. I loved it. So yeah.
Well, you're sweet and great to see you. And Peggy's another person where we overlap quite a bit because Peggy's another lawyer, a reluctant lawyer, and a writer. I recently read your memoir, which I think was your first book that you wrote. And boy, I mean, it was like Gone with the Wind in terms of just everything that you overcame, just like one thing after another. And here you are now, just, carrying the message and representing. So it's really inspiring. Again, that's what I love about this world is, you can take any one of the people that's on this call today and, just focus a whole podcast episode on them, literally. But anyway, Peggy, great to see you. Yeah, it has been a while. Okay. And I think last but not least, we've got Ulf, one of our international guests. So Ulf, would you like to say hi and tell us a little about yourself?
There we go. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes. Hey.
I'm struggling to figure out how the phone works. Hi. Yeah. What was it you went through first? How we met? It was very recently. I was actually on Lidge's podcast, Recording Studio Rockstars, and we just started talking a little bit about veganism, and he introduced me to Chrissy, and I got invited to her podcast, which was really fun. I never expressed so much of my veganism before, so it was cool to just talk to someone and hopefully sharing some inspiration.
Well, tell people where you are.
Where I am, I'm right now. I'm in my car in the south of Sweden. My partner is buying and selling furniture, so I'm in the car helping her move some some couches and stuff. Yeah,
Very nice.
Yeah.
And tell people when you went vegan.
I went vegetarian when I was like 19 years old, when I moved out, moved to my own apartment, and I started paying for my own food. And that was 24 years ago. And I've been vegan for, I think, 12 years. I was vegan a little back and forth before that. Since 12 years, it's all vegan diet. Strictly became vegetarian and vegan for ethical animal rights reasons. My environmental thinking and my health thinking is going a bit up and down, but I think it's nice to know that just by having that ethical viewpoint, you're automatically also contributing to the environmental stuff. But to be honest, if being a vegan would have been worse for the environment, I would still be vegan. So that's like just a second-hand thing for me. And yeah, I used to be into a little bit of activism and stuff when I was younger, going to demonstrations and things like that. And these days, I'm more into expressing things through art, like music. So I have a metal band together with my girlfriend, where the thematics of the lyrics and stuff are usually like animal rights and social justice and what I call mental health stuff. So that's all tying together.
Very nice. Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for
tuning
in all the way from Sweden. And yeah, I think that is an interesting question about, if veganism were worse for the planet, or if it were worse for our health, like, would we still be vegan? And fortunately, at least insofar as I can tell, fortunately, those questions are kind of moot because they happen to be better for all concerned. But I share your perspective where, even if there were something valuable to be gained from like eating fishes or something like that, like I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't lie to other people and tell them like, misrepresent the truth. But yeah, it is interesting. So thanks everybody for joining today and for checking in.
Hey, Chris, I think you got one more. You got one more letter in the alphabet.
Me.
The very last one.
Zena, how could I forget Zena? You're at the bottom of the screen. Yes, please go ahead. Thank you, Liz.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm right. I'm actually at a medical appointment with my 93-year-old pseudo-vegan, kind of junk food vegan mama. And anyway, the internet, it's a little sketchy, the connection, but yeah, I know Chrissy from Gen Hawk groups, I guess. That's where we first met. Right, with Dr. Doug Lyle and Dr. Jen Hawk, way back many years. And I love Chrissy's book. And in fact, I'm just about a month back from a trip at True North where I left Chrissy's book on the shelf there. Also, Peggy Young, both of your books, and Jen Hawk's book too, because I think they need a library there that's representative of this field and not like the latest John Grisham novels, which is what they seem to specialize in. But so I've been vegan since about 1990. I'm one of those like read John Robbins, became vegan, but it was a really bumpy journey. I was and not a healthy vegan. And I many times trespassed back into like vegetarianism. I had a bit of a healing crisis in the early 2000s with very low level cancer and thyroid and colon. Living up in Washington, D.C. at the time, I'm a native New Yorker, and working as a government contractor, background was business, MBA, but discovered PCRM and began to work with them and Dr. Jim Loomis. Lost about 100 pounds in that time frame, got rid of everything that was going on in my body that was exciting. And then actually, like Chrissy and like, I guess, other folks here who have gotten back into, those fields that you just like, oh, now you're driven by passion to, go back to school. So I, had gone back to school for, I did health and wellness coaching, a master's in that, and then a doctorate program in clinical nutrition, and was planning to start a nonprofit in beautiful North Carolina, and then pandemic hit. And I have been working primarily with, other than my day job that pays the bills, I work with Plant Powered Metro New York. So everything that Plant Powered Metro New York does, I'm hoping to bring to North Carolina a little bit. We had a nonprofit that we started that fell under the bus, and now we're getting our legs back, and we want to kind of bring education and teaching back into, like, Megan, you can come and help. We need people. I'm in Raleigh right now, in Raleigh, North Carolina. So would love to bring that back here into North Carolina that of course needs it. My passion has been health and wellness, since I cleaned my act up, but I am really, I think Chrissy and Jen Hawk were talking in a Posse talk earlier this year about the vegan, being a vegan activist, more of a vegan activist. And I absolutely agree, like, who other than us to stand up for the animals that are voiceless, and we're not doing it. I know I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it well enough. So I'm here to learn and get better at it, because I think that's it's high time.
Thank you, Zena. So good to see you. And I didn't know that about your nonprofit plans that went around.
Yeah. Yes, the North Carolina Lifestyle Medicine Collaborative. We actually had a really good team together, and then we had a tremendous financial loss as someone took off with all our donations. And then the pandemic hit, and it was just too much. And then I found Plant Powered Metro New York, and I was like, oh, I can learn a lot from working with them. And now, of course, I'm just really in it with them. I love them so much, but I'm ready to bring something here, because we, as Megan said, we do have great stuff here. We have wonderful veg fests and things like that, but we certainly could do more here. So
wow, that's so interesting. And I also didn't know. So it sounds like there was some financial theft or hacking.
Just one of our people who was managing the website, got the website up and running, was doing all the donations, just up and took off with a nice goodly chunk of money that we had together. And then and then again the pandemic hit, and everybody was kind of, our board was kind of blowing up. So, but there's still some good people in place, and I think we've all kind of, shaken off all the pandemic stuff. Took a little bit.
Wow. And Zena, just what do you think of all this stuff happening in New York around Mayor Eric Adams? And, because he's been a big plant-based proponent, and now there's all this scandal and stuff.
It's kind of shocking, isn't it? Like, you asked me like 2 years ago. I mean, I really was fond of him and his staff, and had met them, and, thought they were like, wow, this is just what New York needs. And, yeah, it's appalling, isn't it? I don't know what to think. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know what to think either. I haven't followed it super closely, and I'm skeptical of everything, but yeah, it's troubling, at least the sound of things. But
it's super troubling, and it's unfortunate, because it's again, he was for a time, I think he was really great for New York City for sure, because everything he was doing for New York City health and hospitals and for those schools was really astonishing. It was just found just a huge shift. So
yeah.
Zena, may I ask a question? Zena the Warrior, did you just came back from True North? Did you go for a water fast there?
I did. I was there for 2 weeks with my daughter, and I'm back. In fact, it's a month today, and this was actually my third visit, and I was there for I did a 10-day water fast and then the refeeding, and
wow.
Amazing.
And yeah, Liz, I heard your story with all the everything with your fast situation, but
yeah.
I would encourage you to come to True North, except that it's, kind of a basic economy situation there. But it's fantastic. It is still fantastic, and you're very well cared for.
I'll check it out. I ended up doing everybody. I originally planned to come to Costa Rica for a month-long water fast. Those plans fell through because it was going to be at the Tanglewood Center here, which was closed down. But then I ended up doing a 2.5 day on my own here in this little cabin. That's my little cabin right behind me.
Amazing.
Congratulations. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Yeah, even
back to everybody else. So I got lots of questions, but back to you.
Yeah, well, we've got just a couple minutes left. We'll keep it within the hour, but yeah, there's so much we could dwell on because people have just so many interesting updates and just thoughts. But number one, we always allow room for vegan venting. So if anyone has some vegan venting that they would like to do, they're welcome to. But also, I am curious, yeah, if people have any thoughts for particular topics or angles for the show. One topic that I'm very interested in is, injecting veganism into the more mainstream social justice realm and how and if that's even possible. But just wondering if people have any thoughts on that and or particularly the mental health fields, simply because I really do think that veganism is great for the mental health, on every single level. And yet it's rather taboo to talk about it in the, one-on-one with clients because there's this ethical guideline against imposing your values on the clients. So yeah, just any thoughts that people have or want to chime in on about that.
Chrissy, I could say something because
Yeah.
I have a daughter who's on the autistic spectrum, and I raised her on the SAD diet, which was a huge mistake. I noticed when I switched her over to a vegan, a whole food, plant-based diet, that her mood completely stabilized. I mean, she's not perfect, of course, but she's a different kid. It was really quite impressive. So I know that happened it was just one case, but it made an impression on me.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's one thing that I wrestle with. And yeah, if anyone has any thoughts on this, but again, I'm in the counseling profession in this next new chapter. And I do wrestle with that dichotomy where in many cases, people are coming in looking for help. And often in my perception, the thing that would be the most helpful and effective and helping them feel better just about everything would be changing how they eat and getting healthy. And yeah, I know we've got some other mental health professionals on the call. So if any of them want to chime in or anybody in general, I think I haven't come across, I haven't conceived of a way where it's appropriate for me to do that, in a counseling capacity, but yeah, just wonder people's thoughts.
Well, if we need to vent, I know most people probably have the same problem, but family is the toughest one to do anything with. They all think you're a freaking idiot and don't know anything when you're the only one that studied any of this, when you're the only one who's, healthy in the family and doesn't weigh 250 pounds. And, they've all taken medications and high blood pressure and diabetes and other heart issues. And, I had my aunt tell me the other day when I asked her to watch What the Health, because her son, my cousin, is diabetic, has high blood pressure, is on these medications, can't walk up 7 stairs without having to stop at the top and, had to catch his breath. He said to me, "We don't care." So if they don't care, I don't care. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I have
Thank
to do
you.
it all
Thank
in
you,
the background
Carlos.
because
Yeah.
they don't want to hear it. So that's
It's true.
why,
I've gotten the same response from more people than I can count, but most recently from my mom regarding her cousin who just had a leg amputated due to type 2 diabetes. And yeah, no one wants to hear it. Well, that's kind of a down note on which to end our call, but I want to keep it within the hour. In keeping with the vibe of the vegan posse, I thought it would be appropriate to close with 30 seconds of silence for all the suffering animals, human and non-human, who desire, as we all do, safety, happiness, and the freedom to live out their lives without interference. So everybody, I invite you to join me in 30 seconds of silence for the animals, and we'll conclude with the sound of the bell. Thanks, everybody. So great to see you. And yeah, I should have asked everybody to put their contact info in the chat so that we could share information. I think a few of you at least did that. So thank you for that. Please feel free to connect with me or one another. And yeah, we'll do it again sometime soon. Thanks, guys. Great to see you.